Good evening and welcome to the Oliveboard platform. My name is Marut Sharma, your logical reasoning expert, and we are here today to start a new session, a new series, a new batch altogether for the SSC CGL Tier 1 and Tier 2. Okay. Now, why Tier 1 and Tier 2? So, we are aiming both for your Tier 1 exam, and we are, this is a one-stop solution now. So, that means if you are ready for Tier 1, we want to ensure, we want to make sure that you're confident enough that this will also be beneficial for you for Tier 2, right? And at the same time, our crash course is going to be a mixture of revision and practice, but this revision is not going to be fast paced. I mean, I am not trying to rush you through things. Not even me, I mean all the other teachers as well. Nobody will be trying to rush you through because we have sufficient time, so we are going to go with ease. Not from ground zero, of course. I am expecting that a lot of you already know a lot of things. So I'll just be giving you points where you need to be careful and where usually students make mistakes. You will see that as a part of this series completely. Whenever I'll take up a next new class, whenever I take the theoretical aspect of the class, I will always let you know about the little things, the little points, common errors where students go wrong and they end up losing their marks, right? So that's all these sessions, this complete batch is going to be about. And of course, we'll be practicing previous year questions and questions not only from SSC exams, but also from some other parallel exams like railways, NDA and all other exams where some early level banking, I would say, some CAT or MBA or IP MAT questions where they may draw parallels with SSC and they might be a notch above as well. So that your practice is a great mixture where you are ready for anything which comes your way, right? Now with that said and done, let's start with non-verbal reasoning. So what is non-verbal reasoning? So let's categorize logical reasoning. Let's categorize logical reasoning into 4 major types of question. Okay. There are a lot of technical names given to these types, but we will not get into that. I am just giving it to you in a very simple language. If I categorize logical reasoning into 4 major types of questions, the first kind of question will be those questions where a certain data is given to you, right? You read that data, you read that information, and you identify the hidden logic or pattern behind it. Okay. Once you identify the pattern or the logic, you apply this to another set of data to get your correct answer, which you will choose from the options. Clear? So you understand, you analyze, okay, you identify and you apply. Okay. But there is no conversion of sorts. Conversion means you will just read it in the form of text, in the form of words, and you'll answer it accordingly. That is why this is because of analysis, also known as analytical reasoning, also sometimes added in the part of verbal reasoning. Technically, verbal in terms of language implies where you need words to communicate, right? So verbal language is what I'm speaking right now. So similarly, verbal reasoning is where there is some sort of language, some sort of understanding, some sort of solving which is involved. Right? Now, the next type becomes the type where there are a set of instructions given to you, some information or data beforehand, some instructions. You need to arrive at a final destination, a conclusion or an answer. But for that, you need to convert it to a figure for better understanding, for better visualization. So again, your data is given to you, you analyze, I would rather say convert graphically. Rest of them remains the same. You analyze, you identify, that's it. When you identify, that is your answer. You don't have to apply anything. Maybe in figure C, okay, not here. Okay, now the question arises, what sort of topics come under these categories? So under this category, I would say we have analogy, classification, series, number series, letter series, missing numbers, and the most important is coding, decoding. Okay, so what is happening here is you are analyzing, then you are identifying what is the logic, the hidden logic, and you are applying that to get your answer. Everywhere if you see, the same trick is being followed. So these are just variations of putting across the question, but the basic pattern, the basic principle behind them remains the same. Out here you can see blood relations, directions, sitting arrangement, some questions of puzzles, puzzle in order, puzzle order or comparison. So what are we doing here is we are converting them into a figure. We are reading the instructions, reading everything, converting it to a figure, then analyzing and answering our questions. They are not different from each other. They are similar, just the approach is different. So they are both put under the category of analytical reasoning a lot of times. Okay, or the broader category of verbal reasoning. The third category can be or is known as non-verbal reasoning. Now, for non-verbal, what exactly happens is, when I say non-verbal communication, I mean I'm not using words anymore, might not even use sound. I am just saying something from my body language. You know, if it's a very common thing, you might have seen that. There is a big classroom, okay, you all have been a part of a classroom, an offline classroom, and you are all sitting and the teacher is teaching and there is a lot of noise, a lot of disturbance, okay. So the teacher wants to ensure that you guys keep quiet. Number one, he or she shouts. Okay, you know, he asks you to keep quiet, you know, this is not right, and you know, the most common dialogue, fish market, and then, you know, people get silent for a while and things go smoothly. These are actually pedagogy tricks. These are taught to teachers a lot of time. The other trick, which is psychological, is via non-verbal communication. So the teacher, while writing, just turns and just stops saying anything, just keeps quiet and stares, gives a death stare to the students. No anger, nothing is displayed, just quiet, silence. The moment this happens, gradually everything will stop, and this still works even today in a crowd of 300 people. Even if they are adults, this technology will work. Okay, so the presenter just keeps quiet and everybody else silence up. Within it spreads like fire, the silence. Once it's done, then you resume again without being offended. Now what exactly is happening is I am communicating non-verbally with you. That is what exactly happens here. Parallelly, I am just drawing an analogy. Okay, so non-verbal reasoning, you actually don't have to solve anything. You actually, sometimes you might not even have to, you know, use the pen or paper. There is no formula. There is nothing that you have to understand this, apply this, oh, this is happening, this is that is happening. Non-verbal is simply visualization. Just look at it, see what is happening, get your answer. That's it. Everything is based on visualization. Everything is based on visualization. You can call it visualization or you can call it observation. Okay. Everything is based on this. Now what topics are covered under here, which we'll do study today. But some people in those topics, I will talk about that, right? So here you will merely look at the figures. Everything is image based. Everything is image based here. So if in a question you are drawing the image yourself, it comes here. If in the question the image is already given to you, mostly it comes here. Then what is the fourth type? The fourth type is critical. Critical plus deductive. Now under this category, you will put critical reasoning, statement assumption, statement argument, all those types of topics. Then I will add syllogism also here, though syllogism can be put in this category also, right, where you convert it graphically into the form of Venn diagram, you analyze and you answer the questions. But it's just not that. It comes under the indirect category of deductive reasoning. So I'm putting it here, syllogism, and I will partially put data sufficiency also here. Okay. So these are the four major types of logical reasoning, and this is what we are going to cover today. Why am I telling you all this is because I want you to understand what non-verbal reasoning exactly stands for. Right? The rest of you already know, but you can understand this because we are officially starting now. Okay, so now coming to non-verbal reasoning. In your syllabus, non-verbal reasoning has 7 major topics. Okay, topic number 1 is figure analogy. So like we have word analogy, letter analogy, number analogy, that is, it talks about relationship. If one thing is related to the other in a certain way, identify that pattern, apply that pattern to a third thing so that you get the fourth one as the answer. Mostly that's how it works. So the same thing is just, applied in the figure, in sense of figures, it becomes figure analogy. The logic is the same. Next is figure classification. Basically odd one out. Out of 4 options, you have to choose 3 related figures and the one which is left out becomes your correct answer. The third one is figure series. Third one is figure series. Okay. So there are certain images, groups of images which are going on, a long sequence of images, and each image is connected somehow to the previous image. You find out that there is something which is going on, some pattern, and based on that pattern you find out the next image. Okay, completely based on number series, letter series, same thing. So whatever we have for verbal or analytical part, we have their counter topic in image version or non-verbal version also, for analogy, for classification, for series. The next one here, I would tell you, it is embedded figures. Embedded figures means hidden figures. So usually what happens is one question figure is given to you and 4 options are given with it. Okay, usually the question figure is a simple figure and 4 complicated option figures are given and you have to choose where is this figure hidden in those option figures, in which of those it is hidden. Vice versa, sometimes a complicated figure is given to you and 4 smaller, simpler option figures are given and you have to choose which of these are hidden or which of these are not hidden in your main figure, right? The next one is pattern completion. Just like a puzzle. Puzzle means not the puzzle based questions, just like pieces of puzzle you used to join when you were a kid. This is more like a 4-piece puzzle. Next is paper cutting and folding based on Japanese origami. Paper cutting and folding, you all have done this as kids. Just visualization. Everything is imagination and visualization. And the last one is mirror and water images. Now, if I tell you the importance of all these topics, so I will call figure series as one of the most important topics. There is usually a sure shot question as far as SSC is concerned. And the next most important topic will be mirror image and water image. Again, a sure shot question mostly you will see in every shift. As far as non-verbal is concerned, these are the topics where most of the questions are asked always. Okay, but we have another topic which is frequently asked, which is embedded figures. Now these topics are those parts of non-verbal reasoning which can be made slightly typical also, slightly more time consuming, embedded figures also, but yeah, I would say these 3 are the most important topics from where most of your questions in non-verbal reasoning are asked or have been asked till now, but we are not sure about what is going to happen in future, right? The rest of them, their frequency is comparatively less, but still they hold some value. Analogy and classification, for a very long time, despite being a part of your syllabus, they were never asked in your SSC exams. But from the time when SSC introduced logical reasoning in their Tier 2 examination is when they have been more frequently asked in the Tier 2 examination. So we'll be covering them also. There's no rocket science behind it basically. So these are the major topics under non-verbal reasoning. Now there is figure formation and analysis. There is a total different topic. 0 questions in SSC ever, and it is more a part of railway examinations. There is a concept of figure similarity, so that is somewhat similar to figure classification. Again, 0 questions in SSC, maybe an indirect part, a direct part of RRB examinations, right? So the list is endless, but this is what majorly covers everything so far in the syllabus. Now a question arises, a lot of students say that what about cubes and dice? So some people keep it under verbal category, some people are non-verbal category, some people don't. Okay, because it is analytical only. You see the figure, you analyze something and then you give the answer. It can just blindly not be visualized and answered. Specifically questions based on cube. But if you still want to make it a part of non-verbal, you will convert it into this into two parts, mostly 2D figures and 3D figures. And your cubes and dice will be a part of this. So we call it 3D or space visualization, space or spatial arrangement. This is where it comes. Okay, dice and cube. So 2D is the rest of them which we have studied right now. So for non-verbal reasoning, those are the topics which you are going to understand and study. Okay. Now in today's session, what we are going to do is one by one, we'll theoretically start understanding what happens in each topic. We'll cover as much as possible and then we'll move on to the questions together. That's the idea. Okay. Because see, explaining this, going for 5-6 questions, explaining this, going for 5-6 questions is not that fun. So rather I would want you to understand all the concepts. There is not much conceptual detail actually. So I'll tell you whatever is required for all these topics. All that conceptual understanding will take and then we'll move on to the questions. Right? So let's start with figure analogy. Let's start with figure analogy. You can be very participative in the session. Don't worry about that. You can cross question, you can answer, you can ask doubts, whatever troubles you, you can just get it out of your system. So figure analogy. Now, as I told you, analogy means comparison of relationships. Basically, two elements are there. They are related to each other in a certain way. That can be a mathematical relation, a word-based relation, an English language-based relation, or any other language-based relation, or a GK-based relation, you know, capital, country, something of that sort. Or simply relations between positional values of letters, anything. So far, we have learned that under the category analogy. Similarly, that relation exists between two images also. An image may simply be a flipped version of another image, a 90-degree rotated version of another image, okay, a mirror image or a water image of another image. Or the most probably asked, the most commonly asked question, that there is an image which with broken down elements. Broken down means there are little elements as a part of that image, and those elements are made to move. They are made to move. They are made to change places based on a certain pattern. That is the relation. So you identify the pattern, apply it, get your answer. Right? Now that reminds me, how do you approach non-verbal reasoning? So you will always break down elements. What is this? I will show it to you. It's not a very big deal. It just has a name. Okay. So basically, rather than solving the complete question, your focus never has to be on solving the complete question, on identifying the full pattern, on completing the full series. No. Your focus has to be on unique elements. If you look at all the 4 options, always look at all the 4 options before you actually plunge into the question. And the moment you go through the options, you will realize that maybe in 4 options, one figure is exactly the same. One element is exactly the same in all 4 of them. There's no point in checking it, because that is not going to give you your answer. So look for differences, that in all these 4 options, which is the element which is going completely differently, and try to hunt for the logic in that particular element. One element, max 2, sometimes 3. 2 to 3 elements, if you visualize, you will get your complete pattern, you will get your answer. You don't even have to delve into the pattern. Just visualize, get your, how your elements are moving, what is exactly happening in this particular element. So that is how you will start visualizing. Do not look at the bigger picture. Normally in life, we tell you to look at the bigger picture. Here, don't look at the bigger picture. Zoom in as much as possible. Locate, identify intricate single images. Don't go for the complete large zoomed out image. That, okay, I'm looking at the whole image, what is happening, I cannot understand. Look for single elements, how they are moving. Each element has a different movement pattern. So pick up 2 elements, you will get your answer. Okay, that is where options are going to help you. Now, if I talk about figure analogy, let's suppose the question something like this will come. There will be a single figure which will be related to another figure. Okay. This is how they'll ask you a question. Okay, so it's very clear. They'll use the same colon sign here. If the first figure is related to the second figure in a certain way, how is the third figure related to the fourth figure, or the third figure is related to which of the following figures from the options? So you will choose. I am not showing you the options here. I am not drawing the options for you, but these are known as elements. You can see there are 4 elements in this figure. Okay, 5 elements in this figure, and all these 5 elements are moving in a certain way. Something is happening to each one of them, right? If you pick up on 1 or 2 elements and get your answer from the options, it will become very easy for you. But for now, for practice, we have to understand what is the pattern which is taking place here. What are the movements which are happening? So from figure 1 to 2, what exactly is happening is, you can observe number 1, the dollar is flipping in its place. I am not using the word mirror image because technically I have not yet taught that, but I know you already know that. So the dollar, we are taking the mirror image here. Okay. This arrow here is going on the top, is changing place with hash and is also flipped here like this. So mirror image again. Hash is as it is. Okay. This exclamation is going on the top and @ is coming at the bottom. Okay. Now what will my answer be? What will my answer be here? So maybe this is also taking a mirror image and it is coming down. So both of them are flipping. Right? So I will take this ampersand here like this. This 4 will be flipped like this, and this arrow will be pointing here. This X will go here and this plus will come here. This is my correct answer. But this is actually finding the whole logic. This is actually finding the complete sequence, right? But you might not have to do that. If you look at the options, only maybe 2 of them will have X here. The others will have something else. So you'll delete those options. Only 1 of them will be flipping the 4. The other one will have the same 4. So you'll delete that also. You'll choose that one correct answer. 2 elements, you got your answer. This is not very challenging actually. The main challenge lies in the fact that sometimes they'll ask you an analogy question which will not even look like an analogy question. Something of this sort. Now this is what is happening. Okay. And a lot of students who already know that there is some sort of a series which is going on, they will start thinking of this as a figure series question only, not like an analogy question. Okay. Good, good Anmol, very good, perfect. Right? So they will look at it as a figure series question and not as an analogy question. Basically, you will have to identify, you will just look at this one X and you will think that, oh, these seem to be related. But technically, this is related to this. But this is not related to this. So what is it trying to tell you is, this question is trying to tell you that the way we are getting the second figure from the first figure, you have to get the third figure, fourth figure from the third figure. They are not related to each other. It's like this. So they are just not using this sign. So don't get confused. Now what is the logic here? The logic is, it's a very wonderful logic. This is staying in its place and just increase by +1. This is staying in its place, just increase by +1. And these 3 are changing places and increasing by +1. So A is going here by increasing by 1, that is B. B is going on the top, increasing by 1, that is C. And this P is coming here, increasing by 1, that is Q. Okay. Now getting this logic is actually difficult. In the examination you might face some issue. Apply the same logic here. So Z will stay here. Z will stay here. We will do +1. So that is A. X will stay here +1. That is 25. That is Y. M will go here. So it is N. P will go here. That is Q. and T will come here, it is U. This is my correct answer. Obviously, I'll choose one or two elements from the options only. But I'm very sure this is going to be difficult for you to decipher in the examination, because the examination has a lot of, so there's a lot of stress of the timer. On the top, the moment the time keeps on ticking, this becomes like a time bomb for you. It feels as if you are trying to cut some wires to defuse the bomb. But the moment you realize that the bomb cannot be diffused, just leave the bomb there and move away. That is, leave this question, move on to the next question. Why? Because then this is going to explode very badly and it's going to cost you at least 4 or 5 questions in the run, and definitely selection is gone. There's no coming back from this blunder. So don't get carried away. Strictly don't do that. Stay away. Understand, realize, give it a cap, 30 seconds tops. Within 30 seconds, if I understand, good. If not, go ahead. Cool. So that's about analogy. What is the only one point to understand here is that sometimes if it is asked like this, not an issue. You are very familiar with this. Sometimes they may ask you like this, which looks like figure series, but is a question of analogy. And in the question also, they will not tell you that if in these figures, if the first figure is related to second figure, then the third figure will be related to which of the following. No, they'll not ask you that. They'll simply say which of the following figures will replace the question mark, and they'll give you this. So then you'll realize after looking at it carefully that these two are not related. So basically this movement pattern just has to be repeated here. That's it. Okay. Now let's understand the second topic, which is figure classification. Figure classification. Correct, good Anmol. Now, when I talk about figure classification, there is a certain difference between odd one out and classification. I always say that. You have to change your thought process a bit. When I'm talking about odd one out, your main focus is to just to look for an outlier. There are 4 options and you will just look for one which does not fit the bill. So, in the sense it is different. You will just choose that. But the main idea is not to choose something different only. The main idea is to group the other 3 into a common group, into a common classification, and that is why the topic classification. Our main purpose is not to choose the outlier. The main purpose is to group the other 3, so whatever remains becomes my answer, and this actually creates a difference. There's a very thin line between the difference, but it does create a difference. Your approach always has to be to group 3 options together. Whatever remains will become your answer already. But surprisingly, this is also based on your number classification, word classification, letter classification. But surprisingly, the logics here have always been observed to be quite easy or vague, I would say. The logics are usually quite easy, or sometimes they will appear to be very vague to you. Mostly there are no movement patterns which are observed here. They can give you movement patterns, but usually you will find very easy or vague logics here. I'll give you 2 examples. So we have 4 options. This is one of them, this is the other one. These are the two questions. Choose the odd one out. They are both based on previous year SSC questions. The logics are based on that. The questions are not exactly the same, but the logics are absolutely what they were asked in the examination. So very easy or very vague logics. Image classification. So choose the odd one out. That is, the idea is group 3 together. They should be following similar logics and one should be different. Good, perfect. So what exactly is happening here is, if you observe in the first case, the set of images, it is plus, minus, multiply, divide. That is only being used in all the three cases here. But here, there are two pluses, one minus and one divide. There is no multiplication sign being used. It's that simple, it's that easy and it's that vague. Okay. And here, each column is shaded at least, I mean, each column is shaded one time. Each column is shaded one time. Each column is shaded one time. But this column is not shaded here. It's completely blank. Okay. So option C becomes my correct answer. Okay. These are the kind of questions which are asked in classification. Only the one golden rule which you have to understand here is group 3 together, whatever remains will be your answer. Next kind of question is figure series. As I told you, one of the most important aspects of non-verbal reasoning. Okay. Now, figure series also has two ways in which the questions are presented to you. The first way is like we have already seen, which looks like analogy or series, whatever we had seen right now. This is the question. Simple figure series. So what exactly is happening is, either there will be some clockwise movement, or there will be some anti-clockwise movement, or there is movement by each one step or skipping two steps, or there are some highlights which are moving. Everything is based on mostly movements. Okay. So what exactly is happening here? There is a clockwise movement happening in parallel lines. If you see in this line and in this line, there is no movement in the middle line here. And the elements are shifting one step downwards. So what is happening here? This is moving one step downwards, this is moving one step downwards, this is going here, this is moving one step upwards. That's what is happening. Similarly, repeat it here, repeat it here. So you will get your next figure. So what will be my next answer? So this 1 will shift here, 2 will go here, 3 will go here, 4 and 5. That's it. This is my answer. Very easy. This is one aspect of figure series. One type of question of figure series. Okay. But the main attraction is the second type, which SSC started asking after 2018 only. 2018, 2019 onwards it started asking. But the frequency has increased now. So what exactly happens is, the question is posed to you in this way. This is the question. Figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, figure 4, figure 5. This is the question, or these types of questions are what are asked. So, as I told you that number analogy, word analogy, letter analogy resemble, so figure analogy resembles them. Figure classification resembles number classification, letter classification and your word classification. So patterns etc. also can be similar. Everything is based on movement. That is what is the main concept here, and we are breaking down into elements. Similarly, figure series also takes from number series. Now, under the category of number series, you have often seen a concept of alternate series. In the normal number series, the first term is related to the next term is to the previous term, and then you get the next term. That's how you work. So this is like a chain reaction. But there is a concept of alternate series where the first term is related not to the second term but the third term. So first, third, fifth, seventh, they are related to each other. Second, fourth, sixth, eighth, they are related to each other. And this is not necessarily this can have only one gap. I can have the first, then fourth, then seventh, I can have like this also, related to each other. So that is known as alternate series. Similar alternating concept, alternate movement pattern concept is applicable here in these kind of questions. So this is based on what? This is based on alternate movement pattern. So what exactly is happening here? Let's check. In the first figure, from first to second, so from odd number to an even number will be reciprocated from an odd number to an even number. Same movement will happen. And from an even number to an odd number will be reciprocated from an even number to an odd number. Same movement will happen. We'll check that also here. So in the examination, you have to quickly be aware of this and unnecessarily don't spend time of identifying this one. Just roughly identify, don't go into details. Now here, W is moving here, @ is moving here, C is coming back. Can you see? And X and Y, they are simply exchanging positions. So you'll have to learn to navigate that how, where is, you look at X here, look at X here. So you see X is going here and instead Y is coming on the top. That is how you will understand. You'll have to link, connect links. So the same will be applicable here to get this one. If you want to verify, you can see X is coming here, Y is going here, C is coming in the bottom, and W and @ are exchanging their positions. So this is not of importance to us because this is not going to help us find the answer. This is going to help us find the answer. What is happening from figure 2 to figure 3? It's not the same. You see, C is not coming here, W is not going on the top. Something else is happening here. So what is happening? Try to identify. Y is coming here, W is going on the top. Okay, these two are exchanging positions. Okay, and what else is happening? This @ is coming here, this X is going here, and this C is going on the top. So they are moving in a triangular motion outside. So reciprocate this movement here. Okay, so these two will exchange positions. This will come at the bottom, this will go here, and this will go on the top. So what will be my answer? Of course, again I am telling you, you don't have to identify the complete logic. Just a few elements here and there will get you your answer. So my X goes here, @ comes here, I have C on the top, Y here and W here. This is my answer. And the beauty is, it's exactly like the first figure. But it may or may not be like this. May or may not be like the first figure, okay? It's not necessarily that the first figure will come out as the answer each time. And mostly, if you look at this one, this alternating based question is mostly asked when even number of figures are given to you and the odd numbered figure is asked. So 1, 2, 3, 4 figures are given to you, 5th is what they are asking you. Or 6 figures will be given to you, 7th is what they will be asking you. Mostly it is asked in that way. Not necessarily, but mostly. So this is the challenging aspect of figure series. If you understand this logic, this pattern, this alternate moving pattern, you will not face a lot of difficulty. Okay, try to break down the movement pattern into two different parts which are moving and you will get your answers. All right, so that is figure series for you. We'll proceed to the next concept now, that is embedded figures. Now I am sure a lot of you don't know this because your preparation may be fairly new. Okay, embedded figures also known as hidden figures. Now there is no problem here whatsoever. SSC has made it very easy now and students usually don't face a lot of difficulty. What happens, I have already told you, two ways to ask the question. Firstly, a complicated figure is given as a question figure and there are four simpler figures. One of them is either embedded or one of them is not embedded. So you choose that correct one, get your answer. And in the other case, it's vice versa. So a simpler figure is given, four complicated figures are given. This simpler figure is embedded in one of the options or not embedded in one of the options. Okay, either which way, just the line of the direction of thought will change. That's it. Questions are not very difficult. But let us try it in a challenging way. Let us check this one. Now tell me, where is my figure X embedded? Where is my figure X embedded? This is the question. Correct. So Ashish is very quick to answer that it's in option B and he is not wrong. But what made him choose this answer? I can see this figure is here. Okay, but I can see this figure is here also. I can see this figure is here also. And I can see this figure is here also. Why only option B is what I am choosing? Okay, so this is where things used to get rough once upon a time. Okay, so there was a preference order which used to be followed. I'll just tell you that order. There was a preference order which used to be followed. If at all you had multiple options where you found your figure to be embedded, then your first preference would be same size, same orientation. Orientation means same direction. If at all, which we see in option B, if at all that is not available, if at all option B was not there or there was some other option instead of option B, then what would we have done? Then you would have chosen another option out of A, C and D, which would have been your correct answer if B was not there. So then it would have been different size but same orientation. Which one do you think the option justifies this one? Is option A. So if B was not present in the option, then my choice would have been option A. So the size of course can change. It can either enlarge or it can, even shrink, but it has to maintain the orientation. Means the direction has to be same. So what is more important here? The direction. Direction cannot change. But what if that option was also not there? What if that option was also not there? Then I would choose same size but different orientation. So here I would go with option C. Oh, sorry, D. Same size but different orientation. Orientation means the shape, the direction has changed. Okay, and if that was also absent, so I had three different options altogether, only one where the embedded figure was visible. So then I will go with, in the last I will go with different size, different orientation. Of course, if all four of them are given in the same question, then my preference is clear to you. My chosen answer will be B only. Okay, always. That's the always preferred answer. But sometimes it does happen, okay, that option is not visible to you only. It's not there only. So then you proceed like this. But I told you in the beginning of this topic that SSC has made it easier now for the students. So what SSC has done is, there was a time, now this I am talking about 10 to 12 years earlier, when embedded figures were simply asked as like this. There were four options given to you, embedded figures, and it used to be a challenging concept because your hidden figure, multiple figures had the hidden figure, but in a different format, in a different shape, in a different orientation, different size. Okay, so you had to choose which one is the most appropriate and the accurate one, and that is what made it challenging. But there used to be a lot of counter, a lot of argument which used to happen after the answer keys were released. So what they did is, to remove that confusion altogether, they put a law or a question tag with it which said no rotation allowed. No rotation allowed. So that simply eliminated these two cases. Your orientation cannot be different. Orientation has to be same. So primary preference is that the same size will be available to you. You will choose that. If at all 0.1% that is not there, then we may go for an enlarged version or a shrunk version, provided there is no rotation allowed. So that will be the only correct answer then. The other options will be totally different. And here also you can break it down into elements. Here also I have asked it in a very different way. Of course, it's not this simple. There also you can break it down into elements. If your figure is like this, okay, and your hidden figure is like this only. There is no line here. The complete movement is happening like this. So you can see this element is missing. So this will never be my answer. Okay, that's how element wise you will understand. Maybe all the figures have this combination, but only one of them will have a line here. So you will choose that. So throughout non-verbal reasoning, element breakdown is the most common thing which you have to rely on. Break your question into little elements. So learn to observe. So however, if you observe here, this V is common everywhere. So don't focus on that. Here it is not working out, but normally focus on the things which are actually different in all the images. That is going to yield your answers more quickly. Right? So this is something new. I'm very sure a lot of you did not know about this preference order. As it is, as of now, this does not hold a lot of importance, but still you should know this, that that's how questions used to be posed. Correct? Right? So for now we'll stop here. Okay, for now we'll stop here. And I'll continue with the remaining parts. Remaining parts means I will continue with your pattern completion, paper cutting, folding, and your mirror and water image in the next session onwards. Next session is tomorrow at 6. Again, I'll start. So this took almost the whole session, but this will not take the whole session. These are very short topics. Will be done in maximum 5-7 minutes. Both of them will be covered. This one will take 10-12 minutes, 10-12 minutes at max. Here I want to discuss with you, not only letters which don't change their mirror or water images, which remain the same, and mirror and water images pertaining to time, pertaining to the clock. Okay, so we'll have to learn that. This requires importance because this is actually, the very frequent. The frequency is high, so we'll have to spend some time here in the theory part. Otherwise, that's it. We are done and dusted mostly. So we'll spend approximately 15-20 minutes here in this section in the next class, and then we'll start practicing, right? The aim will be to practice SSC previous year questions first, and then I will also be bringing you previous year questions from different examinations or maybe practice questions. That is going to ensure that you are ready for all sorts of mixtures, right? So that's the idea. With that note, I'll end my session here. Hopefully you liked the session. You understood what I wanted to bring across, what I wanted to put across, what I wanted you to understand. And if you like this session, definitely do give me the good rating, right? And write some review if you want to, some feedback if you want to provide. Even constructive feedback is most welcome. And for those of you watching on YouTube, do hit the like button, share this session, and do subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much for joining live, guys. If you have any doubts, you can put it in the doubt section. I'll be rectifying those for you. Otherwise, we'll end the session here, and I'll see you guys in the next session tomorrow. Alright guys, I'll end the session here. Thank you so much for joining live. Bye-bye. Namaskar. Jai Hind. Yeah. So actually only in the theory part I am drawing them, but in the questions when I'll be bringing you, everything will be printed, Ashish. Don't worry about that. Okay. Most welcome, bacha.